If you if you go to my YouTube channel, then you'll get the link there. And so
Have you done? No, not yet.
it's probably live right now. It's still loading on my end, but I'm probably live.
This guy going live early.
Oh, it's 6:01. I'm a minute late.
You went live
What's up,
before you
dude?
went live. Look at
Hell
you.
yeah.
Look at you go.
So this is the popcorn you are eating has been pissed in, and I'm not wearing pants. Film at 11. Welcome to Collapsing with Casey, drunk, stoned, and scared. And we got motherfucking Jason Lesso in the house, right? What's up, dude?
I'm in the house.
You're in another house, but still.
There was my camera.
Eh.
The background.
I see I think I see a end of the neck of six string in the background. That's cool.
Yeah.
Been jamming. Dude, I watched you play that video you posted the other day on your channel. That was sharp, dude. Fuck. You can jam. Which I know obviously you play everything, right? You play drums, you play double bass on drums. Nobody plays.
Sure.
Every band that wants a double bass player can't find a drummer that can play double bass, right? That's not even for drummers, that's not a normal thing, right? That's fucking cool.
That's true. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely, dude. Talent is, when talent deserves respect, deserves reward, I think.
I have to pull up the stream myself. So
Oh yeah. Yeah, I want to be able to see the chat and stuff, because I like watch folks talk and such.
yeah, we're up now.
Cool. Yeah, man. So good to have you back, Justin. It's been a couple of weeks. I know you had to take care of some family matters, so I've been thinking of something, because I know all the time you're not going to be available for these 6 o'clock Friday night. And delivering food Friday night is a big, you don't, if you're having to deliver food to make money, you don't fuck around on the weekend. You got to work. That's a prime time to get, good tips, and and you got to work that. So I really appreciate you taking the time off. I understand how much, because I've done that before too, how important it is you've got to work weekends doing food delivery. And so for you to take off a Friday night, hang out with us, hang out on my channel, that's really cool, man. And I can't thank you enough, for doing that, because I know that's a fucking shot to your wallet, right?
Yeah. I mean, I could always jump in after, because there's times where you get promotions for 9 p.m. after, but depending on the day and the weight and the timber of the conversation, I just don't usually feel like in the mood to go out and work a job that's kind of pointless and is kind of a short means to a short end.
Yeah, I completely agree. And when I was delivering food, pizza, whether it was pizza for Domino's or doing the DoorDash Uber thing, like what you're doing, it was stressful because I knew I was killing my car. I wasn't still making what minimum wage, right? It should be what, $22, $23 an hour if you factor in inflation to today's inflation. It's actually probably more than that, because shit has gone up again since Guy and Pauline were talking about that. And that was probably, I don't know, at least 2 or 3, maybe 6 months ago when they talked. And so we've seen prices go up, generally speaking, at least 2, 3, 5%, especially food and things that are, food and
lumber.
and
Lumber's
fuel.
been through the roof. Fuel, car prices.
So it's yeah, you're still not making a living wage, and at the same time you're killing your fucking vehicle. You know, the so it's obviously not sustainable. Go figure, right? How did that how did that happen? How is nothing sustainable anymore? Not that it really ever was.
Well, it never was. That's the thing. Yeah. We're just finding out now that how unsustainable things that have been going on for quote unquote forever actually are.
Yeah, fuck, man. I'll drink to that. It's time for a shot. Fucking drunk, stoned, scared, and shit in my pants. I'm not wearing pants. That's why I won't shit in them tonight.
And
Just save a pair of pants.
I'm pretty conservative with my on screen how intoxicated I am, but I think we're getting closer and closer to the BOE and the methane bomb, and I think it's far enough time that I can smoke off screen at this point.
Oh yeah, especially in New Jersey, is it legal in New Jersey now, or at least like declassified, or what's the latest on that?
You're allowed to have 6 ounces and you're allowed to grow a certain amount of plants. I'm not entirely sure about the growing, but
That's cool.
I saw some guy post on Facebook. He was like, it's a weird feeling when you smoke in front of the cops and they don't do anything. And I was like, I didn't know you could do that. That ballsy.
That's funny. Yeah, no shit, man. I feel like I could do that in Atlanta, because Atlanta, we do have, it's decriminalized up to, I think, an ounce. And an old friend of mine had a big hand in that. He was getting medical marijuana sent to him by the government up until from some kind of old clause, and he's an older guy, but he unfortunately died of a heart attack on the job a couple of years ago. He was a big activist, which I really admired. He's how I met. I got to hang. He had Doug Stanhope at his house. That's how I met him. I went to, Doug gave me an address. He's like, I'm going to be here. And I'm like, that's fucking where I live. That's Lithia Springs is where I live. I'm damn sure going to be there. So we went to this dude's house. And so from that, especially being like a neighbor, basically, we hooked up and became friends and stuff like that. And then he, unfortunately died of a heart attack. And then it turned out all of this like activism kind of stuff that he was into and everything, he was also a fucking Trumper. He was one of those people that he was angry at the government and, libertarian and all that, but he thought he was one of those people that, thought Trump was going to save us. And he passed, I think either right before the election, or right before, he took office or whatever. And it was only then that I realized that some of the people that he was, hanging out with and associated himself with and stuff, other local, people running locally for offices. I was like, oh, that's when I realized they're all fucking Trumpers. These people aren't they're not the answer either, right? And that's when I really was like, there's not even goodness in voting locally. Voting locally is no different, no better than just going, yeah, Biden, here you go. Here, Trump, here you go. Here, Bush, let's get 4 more Bushes. Just add some more Clintons too. Let's keep Clintons coming. It's just everything across the board, even locally. It's just, my own mother ran for some kind of an office when she lived in Texas. She isn't even from Texas. She lived in Texas for like a year or two and ran, on some kind of same fucking Trump platform. Thankfully, she didn't get elected. But she's just as big of a moron. That's why, I can't. I should have never talked to my mom. I should have been aborted. My mom is a total fucking warmonger. You know, you just better yourself. If you dig cobalt for a penny in Africa, then just better yourself. Be the best cobalt digger, and then you'll work up. Bitch, you're 5. No 5-year-old should be fucking digging. Maybe 3. Maybe they're 3. No 3-year-old should be fucking digging for. We have smartphones. So, but it allows us to do this, and then people will diss and hate on us like, well, don't you have a computer? Don't you have a cell phone? Don't you have a car you drive to? You use gas? Motherfucker, we don't have a choice, right? Like Guy says, we're born into this set of living arrangements, right? I mean,
Exactly.
at least we're recognizing that and going, fuck this. Well, I mean, it's too late to say fuck this because, that's the other thing. We're seeing a whole lot of people, right, that want to stop fossil fuels. That they could stop fossil fuels tomorrow with a cyber attack. We had a cyber attack in the Southeast, and we had some fuel shortage for a bit, and that got repaired. But if we don't keep civilization going, then we lose aerosol masking, right? And we collapse and heat up and go extinct.
Actually
Very
heard.
rapid.
I forget who told me. I had heard that David Attenborough's new Netflix documentary, and he does a lot of work on climate. Has like, if we don't do something now, we'll have a problem in the future.
That's a shot.
Stuff like that.
Yep.
But apparently, there's something in his new documentary about global dimming.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought
it goes on. It goes on to say the same. We got to plant a lot of trees and we got to work together and all that.
Yeah, that's what I read. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to have a lot of that at the end, but somewhere in the middle, there's something about global dimming, which I thought was really interesting because if you acknowledge global dimming, you acknowledge that if we stop polluting the atmosphere at the rate we've been doing it for the last 100 years, it's going to get hotter. The same way it's going to get hotter if we keep doing it. It's a tip. It's your
Yeah, damned if you do,
situation.
damned
Exactly. So it's like not
if you don't. That's
exactly as such. It can be quite frustrating.
David Attenborough, you fucker, tell the truth. That's just don't
Smoke
fucking
too
lie
much.
to people. I want to respect all these people who love nature, and I just can't, and I feel like I can say that because I donated my 10 years of my life to volunteering in conservation. And what I saw was just a total lie, and as I saw more of the lies and called it out, I just became more and more cast aside and like, no, Joey, you're wrong, you don't know what you're talking about, because people don't want to know the truth. They not only don't want to know the truth, if you tell them about it, it pisses them the fuck off. I'm sorry that my information in the not even my information, not my information, it's the fucking truth, it's reality, right? And fucking deal with it. We have to deal with it, right? And so they just blame the messenger like it's all our fault, or we'll just blame Guy. It's all Guy's fault. Fucker.
Yeah, a lot of this is shooting the messenger. I mean, I just got attacked today for asking a question on somebody's page.
I saw that. Yeah, she was like,
I'm not
privately.
I'm not in the business of naming names or anything, but like,
yeah,
I'm even already Facebook friends
question.
with decided to get at me for like although I could specifically message all of these people I have questions about, but like, is it the point of having a public Facebook so people can make a comment and publicly ask a question in the first place?
Exactly. You did nothing wrong, Justin.
It's such a toxic. Facebook can be such a toxic environment, and I have friends that have just recently quit it, and it's just like, damn, I get it. I get why people delete this shit anymore. It's just like I said something today about I'm really hanging on for local bands who, using social media, you have to do that anymore in local
Yeah.
music because nobody's going to care who you are or hear any of your stuff in the wash the tidal wave of information that is generated every second in the digital world. Nobody's going to know who you are. So I use it
Absolutely.
and then I also use it because a lot of people post and share information about climate change, about economic collapse, about climate collapse on Facebook in a way that that information isn't as easily accessible anywhere else yet. And I don't know if it will be before the internet disappears. So, I utilize it for what it's worth now. I'm in the boat where I don't even care as much about holding on to quote unquote Facebook friends that don't get what's happening so that I can point out, at the end of days, how maybe you should have figured it out. Like I'm at the point where I don't even care as much about that anymore because the situation is unfolding so rapidly. It's bleeding into generalized culture and media more by the week. I was watching, comedic documentary, not a documentary, like a comedic special, with my partner and her mom the other day. And the comedian was joking about how, the end is almost here. And how can you be joking at a time like this, but we have to. And he said something along the lines of he was singing with an acoustic guitar saying like, humans have been here 200,000 years and we only have 7 left. And it's just like, it's really chilling to hear a comedian, a famous person my age talk about there's 7 years left to do anything. And it's even more chilling to me because I cannot conceptualize being alive in a world 1800 to 2000 days from now where it's going to be too hot. The jet streams are not going to regulate temperatures to be able to grow any crops for 8 billion people, let alone me or you and my friends. Like there's not going to be a way for this global interconnected, delivery that day system to operate when climate change ramps up. And it's already been proven with COVID and the supply chain shortages that we don't even need a major environmental disaster. All we need is a pandemic, something else like that has basically shattered the economic market to the extent that it's worse than 2008. And that's backed up in financial media week by week. This crash that we just experienced was worse than 2008. So what do you think the crash is going to look like when the Arctic ice melts and there's no longer a stable 4 seasons? It's not going to be a crash. It's just going to be the dropping off of all finance, of all fiat currencies, no longer going to have the value that it has now.
Yeah, man. Absolutely, dude. 100% on what you just said. I'm trying to, because that was, you put so much in that right there. Going back to the whole Facebook thing. I'm right there with you, man. The only reason I'm still on Facebook too is for one to do this channel because it's a venting, it's a release for me, and I've never been able to have a release. I think everyone deserves a free speech, but we're not allowed to have free speech, even if you are just talking amongst a coworker that you feel comfortable with or a family member. If you talk about what we know, and our friends, our listeners, and many, many others on a small scale, there's only a few of us who really get this, who understand it. And it's not, and that's the thing, is it's not hard. People don't get it and understand it because they don't want to. They choose not to. Just like being anti-war. It's just easier to go, yeah, they're probably bad. We need to go kill them. And it's not that. And we've always seen through that. Like we're just a different breed of people to see and understand and accept all of that, right? And so then you you go on Facebook and open yourself to all the fucking Trumpers and the Bidens, and Democrats, Republicans, which are all pure shit. Because everybody thinks that their team is rah rah rah. My team represents me. There's people won't accept, they can't accept that there's not a fucking team that represents them. But they can't function, I guess, if they don't have that mindset. They don't have that mindset that, there's got to be something. And I think that was like, Bernie's, that was the purpose of a Bernie. That was the purpose of an AOC. And even post all of that shit, I see that even they were all just pure shit. If either one of them were running for anything, I wouldn't waste my time to go vote for them because I understand that and see through that. They're there to keep, mostly people like us who are intelligent and or informed or care about the world that we live in and, and freedom and a well-being. We're not, they give us, that's the reason those candidates are even there in the first place, is to accommodate the rare few people who just don't get all their information from Fox News. They want a better world to live in, and they see a better world to live in. And I know for myself, I've always seen that, but I've never seen anyone else see that. In fact, the only time I ever saw anyone else see that vision of a better world is connecting with people in near-term human extinction, connecting with people who follow Guy's work, because it's one of those kind of things where in order to get it, you already have to be compassionate, you already have to have empathy, you already have to be, kind of understand that everything is really, really bad, everything is really, really backwards, like we all struggle with no health care, no representation. You're 28 years old, right, Justin? You have paid into Social Security for your whole working adult life. I've paid in as well. I'm 48, so I'm really fucking pissed off. And I always knew I would never see Social Security. I knew that the world would end in whatever way. Before Social Security came along, or before I was able to, to qualify for such, before I got old and could qualify, I already knew, and that's because they know, just like you and I, Justin, we know from Guy that they are not planning on they know there won't be a presidential election in
That's what I was going to say, was like all these people talk. I got a lot of criticism. I voted in 2016. I voted Green Party because I was not for either of the establishment candidates at the time. And 2020, I didn't vote. And I got a lot of criticism from, liberal circles and from personal family that lean more liberal left for that decision. And I was going to mention, there's a supercomputer the government uses, there's a number of them, called Summit, that projected that the Arctic Ocean is going to be ice free by 2024, and therefore we are not going to need to have another election in 2024. Like, when a government entity is saying that shit and people were talking about the next election, it's like there's not going to be a next presidential election. And it's like, it sounds so crazy saying that out loud. And it's like, oh, you might be conspiratorial, or you're just a kid saying that or whatever. But it's like, no, it's documented how far along we are in this decades-long process of collapse that happened to happen around when I was born and now has caught up to me now that I'm in my 20s. Like, yeah, that's an unfair reality for me too, but at least we're here acknowledging it. I'm not going to sit there and tell people who they should vote for in an election that's not going to fucking happen, period. So it's like, I mean, if it's offensive, then
yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right, dude.
But like, I've been getting attacked left and right anymore for just wanting to know things from people who I don't even think are saying the whole thing. Why are we talking about climate plans and XYZ strategies and talking about deadlines that aren't going to exist and lying to people?
Is it wrong that I want to cut friends? Like, not, not just like a fucking paper cut, but like stab. And I'm joking. I'm not really, violent, but I really like people.
I don't
have
condone
old
paper.
friends.
I don't condone paper cuts.
I have friends who say, if you don't vote, you can't bitch. What the fuck is that? That is just some, I don't even have a fucking scale that registers that level of stupidity. And those are people that I just have to go, you know what? I gotta cut you off. That's my cut. I cut them off. I'm like, you know what? Fucking, you're, get out of my face. And
I've been doing-
to prove
I've
the
been doing a
point,
lot
like
of,
what we're talking about too, is
Mhm.
the whole focus is voting and how everyone's losing their rights to vote in the next election. That doesn't actually matter. You can just let your voting rights go. There's no reason to bitch about. You know what? They're gonna make it harder. They're the gerrymandering and and the redistributing and you know what? It doesn't. Yeah, like we're talking about, dude. You're so right on. It doesn't matter. It's not even gonna fucking happen. So it is only just another distraction. But if you plug into Democracy Now or any kind of progressive news, that's all it is. It's just voting rights. And I'm so tired of that. And that shit was old 40 years ago, but it's really, really obvious that the
other thing-
science.
The other
and
thing
the-
I was gonna the other point I was gonna mention I forgot was I've been doing like a lot of like I don't know if it would be reflecting or introspection on the time. It's not been a long timeline, but the last decade even or less of time where I've had friendships that have kind of fallen apart, whether it be because of talking about this or otherwise, or different people that looked at me or approached me differently because of this conversation and this topic. I've been looking at all of that and kind of like anger that I've held on to and just kind of like letting go of it, because it's like I used to kind of be like, wanting to be this, I guess, like a lighthouse kind of like, oh, follow me. I know the best way to get through the storm that's coming. And then when people didn't do that, I'd be like, well, why aren't you not going to follow me? I'm clearly this pillar of knowledge. Well, maybe that wasn't the case, and maybe it was, but now I'm just trying to treat it like most of the people aren't going to get this. So I'm going to approach situations like everybody that doesn't want to speak to me anymore because of that. That's fine. If they choose to change that, otherwise, okay, I'll entertain them being in my life again. But I'm not gonna hold grudges as much anymore on people for just exiting because it's too much for them to handle. Because in reality, they're going to be confronted with it alone at some point. And the longer that I think as individual humans and even as privileged white Americans that we take to let this reality sink in, that we're not going to be able to get everything we like to eat at the store, and we're not going to be able to buy the things that we enjoy, and we're not going to be able to amend our discomforts at the local drugstore. We're not going to be able to have things to clean ourselves and do all that stuff. The longer it takes for that reality to sink in for all of us, I think the worse off that individual person is going to be at that time, which is rapidly approaching. So for me, it's like I've wasted so much of my personal social battery because I'm very introverted, and stuff drains me really quick. Like I can be hanging out with people and then be like, all right, I'm like out of social battery. So I have to recharge. So I've wasted so much of that time in my social battery trying to argue with people and disagree and fight them on what I believe, and not as much just being like receptive to whatever I can get and then leaving the situation on top of that. Like I've done a lot. Like I don't want to disappoint you or anybody else and say I'm not gonna opium addicts. I'm still gonna do that, but like at the same time, it's just like how much how much evidence and reality are these people going to have in front of their faces before they start to say, okay, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe this makes sense. Like how much bigger can you make the billboard that says we're fucked before somebody asks a question about what that sentence actually means in context? You know, like these are all people with supposed wells of intellect, with degrees, with qualifications, with accolades, with achievements. And yet the simplest thing as, the balance of life on this planet is so far out of their grasp of understanding.
It's totally insane. What I see, and I've had this happen a couple of times. People just come up to me out of the blue and go, Joey, it's not fixable. I'm like, well, you obviously don't know what I'm talking about, because if you did, you would already know that's my position. And not that it's just my position, it's just the fact. But I think people are, they still think that, this is, years, decades. So that's why they're like, that's why they have that, that mentality, whatever, that like, I don't think this is fixable. Well, no shit, Sherlock. I was here all the time. All the fucking time I've known that it's not fixable. Especially, at least especially in the last years. That's why I stopped volunteering with conservation, because it's a lie. Zoos are a lie. Zoos job is to, we're each gonna have elephants, and that way that we have multiple, different families, different, old families. We're not inbreeding elephants, which at this point in the game we probably are inbreeding elephants, because most of the especially the larger and the more rare animals, like snakes, indigo snakes, Drymarchon cooperi, in eastern indigo snake, has been on the endangered list. They're native to basically middle southern Georgia to Florida, but they're mostly wiped out. They're not extinct in the wild. They're heavily endangered, but there's been so many decades and years of not a lot of gene pool to pull from, that they're most, maybe not all, but most are inbred. So you have scale deformity is very common, and then it just gets worse from there. And I'm not saying that most that are born today are unhealthy, but you have a lot of issues. But at the same time, we're not going to figure this out. Zoos were, from what I was told and what I saw, and that's why I supported zoos, and we're going to figure it out, and we're going to be able to repopulate the world with these animals that we did not let go extinct, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that, for one. And two, we're not going to figure it out, and we're not going to stop. So it double doesn't work like that. It's everything is such a fucking lie, right? It's just, and it's like, I'm sick of the lie, and that, of all of conservation and breeding animals. And that's why, none of my stuff,
it's a lot to deal with, because if you spend and a lot of people do through indoctrination, if you spend your life living through a certain paradigm, a certain lens of being, it is real easy to stay in that channel, so to speak, and continue being that way and never change and never grow.
Yeah.
So I've oddly enough had a lot of comments from people who are double my age talking about my ego and how I have to fix that and all that. And I'm like, well, that may be true, but I definitely remember people dying that are 80, 90 years old, bigoted, and not having learned much about respecting other people and having values outside of their family. So I don't know why I've been, quote unquote checked so much recently by, you know, like I said, people double my age about how I'm saying and reacting to things when the science is telling me I'm not really gonna end up living to be that age. I don't really get that.
Yeah, man. I agree with you on that 100%. I like to say that, younger people haven't had the opportunity that say I have to get sick and tired of all the bullshit and want to turn the switch off and go, and disappear and be gone. That's totally my personal right, obviously. But at the same time, I knew when I was younger than you even, I was like, man, nuclear war could take us out in any second, and shit's crazy. Tensions are high, and everyone just fucking listens to Fox News. The tensions are even more higher because everybody is living a lie, and they're so fucking pro-war and so self-centered. They're like, fuck those people over there. They don't matter, because they don't realize that we all live on the same fucking ball, and that if we destroy and nuke, their country, just fucking nuke them and wipe them out. It's a fucking round thing. Even if let's say you're a flat earther and it's flat, well, it's soon going to be time to find the end and fucking swim off of it. I mean, that's a terrible flat earth joke, but my point is, we're all connected. I forget who said that if one person isn't free, none of us are free. And that was so beautiful to me. And I didn't need to hear that quote to know and feel that my whole time. But when I heard it said like that, I was like, yeah, exactly. That's why I'm anti-war, and I don't want to see us destroying the planet, even if it's over there and their fucking worms die, worms and people die. That's still not good for us. The shit goes, what comes around goes around. You're muted.
You're thinking of Eugene Debs, the socialist candidate.
Yeah, him.
Sorry, I have a friend with me sitting in on the stream, and we conferred that,
Okay, cool.
talking about the socialist candidate that said if so long as it's like so long as no as somebody it's like as long as there was a criminal element, I am of it. So long as there is a poor, I am of it. Like, basically, he was saying as long as there are poor people and criminals, that I am one too, because we're all the same. Like, we are the lowest of our people, because how we treat them is a judge of who we are. And if you want to judge America like that, we ain't shit.
Well, I think if you and I were
Talk about our poor people,
Justin, we would have a hard time shooting the enemy, especially if we were at their house. That would be really fucked up, I think, for people like us. And then to be so diehard to go through with the act, and if you actually do live through the act, you come home, and now you're the guy that comes home and beats his wife, has 4 children, beat them too, and you vote, Republican across the board, pro-war, like, pro, rah, rah, rah. What I did was, that was important. I gotta, because people can't admit that they fucked up. They fucked up really bad. And at the same time, even when they can't or don't admit that they fucked up really bad by doing that, there's still the mental aspect that, that's why they fucking beat their wives. And and family, and or even take it out on themselves or all the way across the board. It's just a recipe. Everything that everything about capitalism and war and the way that we live, where we're told to live, is just it's just a death sentence. It's a miserable existence that we are sold upon. And the only freedom I think people really have is to recognize that and go, well, I'm not going to participate. And then when you do that, everyone else is like, that dude's a fucking kook. That dude's a kook. He's not pro-war. He thinks they're good people over there.
That's
Yeah.
what you reminded me of. Mike Rupert I think it was Mike Rupert, either him or somebody that was on his show used to talk about Iraq and how the government and the military would talk about enemy combatants, right? And it's like, how are you going to call people enemy combatants when they're defending their house? Like they're on their own.
That's insane.
Homes. Yeah. And
they're
like, what sense does that make?
It's like when the whole war on terror, war, they were saying war is peace. War is peace. And I was like, what the fuck is that? But it's there's key words, key phrases that a mass media can plug into people's minds through the idiot box, where we watch the wrestling and whatnot. So people just accept like that is normal, and that's just it is what it is. Accept it or get the fuck out. Well, I'd rather get the fuck out because I ain't accepting that kind of bullshit. That's just sorry, but I have a little bit of self-worth or a conscience, I guess. That
some semblance of conscience.
And that's one thing I really love about Pauline's documentary, Going Dark, is she really, really does a good job of covering all that. Like she even, mentions like, yeah, we all, so many of us protested the Iraq war and the war on terror. And, we thought we could just vote right and fix it. And obviously that doesn't work.
Well, think of how many people protested that war globally.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was that. Yep. All across the planet, globally. Yep. And it still happened. Just like said in our documentary, a war that was protested globally, yet still happened.
Think of all the pipelines that were protested and all the people that were injured or shot at for this, standing up to those people that built the pipelines, and yet they happened anyway.
Yeah.
Right. That's why I get frustrated with like XR notions and like,
oh, dude,
I spent my whole 50 years of life protesting and going to jail. So young kids need to stop being lazy and get off their phones and their computers and go get put in jail. And it's like, I don't really think it's that noble of you to suggest these people spend the last couple years of their lives in prison. And I don't know if you know anything about the American prison system, but it's very difficult to get back into society and not readmit yourself into the American prison system once you're there. Jobs, these aren't available to you. Resources are not available to you. Can't vote if you're a felon in America in a lot of places. Like, it's not exactly a brilliant idea to be like, yeah, get arrested for the climate when giant corporations are legally doing all of this shit. There's no law against, polluting and all of that. They have these carbon cap bullshit, cap and trade bullshit nonsense. And then it's just like, Sally and John, protester from college, get shot and go to jail talking about Exxon, but Exxon can do whatever the hell they want and ruin the country, ruin multiple seas, ruin all the oceans, ruin all the land, and it's legal. And
yes,
a lot of money doing it. Like, these giant companies are just now going to court because the Exxon thing is really interesting, actually, because they just elected people to their board that are kind of like climate savvy, but it's not like they elected them to promote environmentalism. It was a business model decision because, having all of these fuel sources that aren't profitable anymore is a failing business model. So it's,
Yeah, that's, you hit the nail on the head with all that. I mean, that's absolutely right. I had a comeback, but a supporting statement, but I'm completely lost. I'm pretty drunk right now. This is three and almost a half, so I'm getting a couple of shots of the screwball, and it, Justin, man,
Yeah, I'm gonna
you're
take
so
a-
right.
I'm gonna take a
You're
shot
so
too.
right. I'm gonna put a shot into my toilet, and I'll be right back. If you want to, whenever you want to go into, climate and the economy, and the you're all set up to take over screen sharing if you want to do that. In the meantime, hold the fort, because I don't want to soil the carpet.
Yeah, well, I can probably go into a couple things in the meantime. We'll have to all at the same time catch Joey up universally, because I don't know how long he'll be in the bathroom. But currently, we're looking at today's climate analyzer max temperature, and if you can see from this lovely little design graph over there, that a lot of the maximum temperature in the Arctic is above 0 degrees Celsius, which means most of the Arctic is melting at some point during the day at the maximum temperature. Average temperature, a lot of the Arctic is still melting too. So I know Joey mentioned that he was drinking. I'm pretty stoned now too, so bear with me. Hey Joey, you're back already. That's awesome. So we're going over, this is the average temp for today, and then the max. So what I was saying is most of the Arctic was above melting at some point today. I've been seeing an increasing trend of stay there, of like heating over here in East Siberia coming up north over this part. So that can't be great. I was Googling socialist stuff. I'm so terrible.
That's a good point, Justin. There was I wanted to ask you about that. What do you think? What's your personal opinion on what's going on with the methane release in the ESAS, the Eastern Siberian Arctic Shelf? Because it seems like things are not good there. But I've been watching cams, and I think other people have too. And I obviously everything is off the charts, but we haven't seen anything overtly. At least from what I've seen. So I wanted to ask you what you were seeing, if you saw anything that was super alarming about the methane bomb. As I like to, someone called it once Jacoba's part,
Arch
Natalia
friends.
Jakova, who it is one of the main scientists that talked about how much methane was in the ESAS, and that 1% of that methane leaking out would be a game changer, game over, and it appears that we may be there, or if not, very close, right?
Yeah. I just keep thinking about the farts friends joke.
I know. I mean, you gotta laugh.
You have to
don't
laugh.
it's just
That's
like,
exactly what I'm saying. We were just watching this Netflix documentary. I keep saying documentary because I watch so many documentaries. It was a comedy special, but there were some parts of it that like really weren't funny. It was a lot of talk about how isolated everyone's been this year and how stressed that makes us, and X, Y, and Z. And he's just, one of his songs is like, how are you laughing at a time like this? How can you be joking at a time like this? And it's just like, that's how you're keeping it together, is joking at a time like this. Like,
yeah,
that's the glue.
the importance of comedy.
Yeah. So my thoughts on the ESAS,
That
for everybody.
that's fucking opening that I'm
Yeah,
seeing.
man, that's what I was
haven't
going to
seen
start
that.
talking about.
That's holy shit.
So if you want to count, it's
It
like
just makes me want to eat my own boogers. I mean, fuck it, you know.
it's a 5-second time lapse. So like one, all right, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it slips. The first 4 seconds are all reality. The last fifth is a projection based on the first 4 seconds. The data assumes that it's going to keep melting or keep freezing based on the last 4 days. So most of this already happened. This pastel bluish green is like 2-meter thick ice. It's about our height, just thick block of ice. We know it's not all together by the satellite polar view data, which I haven't looked at this in a while. I'm kind of nervous.
You and me both.
Okay, so that's bad.
Fucking drink them if you got them, smoke them if you got them. Fuck, dude, this is
what I was gonna mention was the ice extent is a joke because this is clearly not together ice. This is pieces of crushed ice bouncing off each other. It's like go on your fridge and click the crushed ice setting, and then fill like a lasagna pan with water, and then fill that with crushed ice. Like the spaces in between is so much less albedo than a full pan of ice. And you can't really actually know that until you actually see that for yourself and try it. The farther across the surface area is, the more space in between the little pieces. So this is not good.
Yeah, if that doesn't spell BOE this
Dude,
summer,
I can't even comment on the size of the holes right now I'm seeing. Like we are 10 days away from the start of summer, which is a month-long process. And this kind of shit is supposed to happen during summer, like 2 months into summer. So, there's no ice in the passage between Siberia and Alaska. It's gone. It's not there. There's like no ice attached to Alaska here. It's gone. This is supposed to be, if you look at see this is where all the thick ice is. The Canadian archipelago and North Greenland. If you look at that on Polar View, it's here, but like if you can see the color gradient being different white, it's not all 100% thick.
Yeah, so you can tell how thin it is and how broken.
Right. The ice that isn't little pieces, ice cube pieces, is still thinning over the whole thing. So all of these factors are problematic in terms of whether we get a methane bomb before a blue ocean event with if we get a blue ocean event and then the added up latent heat. That's another thing I wanted to mention. I spoke with you, Joey, about this earlier. You'll notice there's this kind of like line being cut through the ice. And if you zoom in, I can't zoom in anymore on my computer. But if you look closely where my mouse is, you'll notice that there's this kind of like really thin line.
Yeah.
I think that is a lot. Somebody, I don't know if it was Sam Curran, posted about there was a lot more mixing due to stronger winds of different columns, the different water columns. So the surface is blending with the middle columns and the bottom columns. And those middle and bottom columns are hot. It's hot water being pulled up from the Atlantic and the Pacific. So I think we're seeing a mixing of those columns that is pulling heat from the bottom and the top, melting the ice from both ways. And I mean, I don't know, man, this is looking like Blue Ocean Event 2021 to me.
I agree. Thank you for saying that too, man, because I know it takes balls, but you're showing, I mean, you're fucking showing, I totally agree that
projection is not summer. This projection ends 4
or 5 days.
Sorry, I had to actually look. Projection ends the 18th. So this projection,
Is 1 week out.
it's well, not even that. It's still in spring. This entire image you're looking at is a spring projection. So like you're looking at the main thing of ice disappear the way it usually does by August, and we are not even projecting into summer yet. But we're looking at like earlier and earlier BOE this year if this keeps up.
Yeah, that was my fear too.
I'm gonna take
and-
another hit.
I don't blame you, dude. I'm gonna chug. That wasn't a chug. Neither was that, but it doesn't matter.
Moderation is difficult in times like these, you know.
It really is. Like, what the fuck are we even doing? God damn. I loved how you mentioned that we're still about a week. I forget the number of days, but we're about a week away.
10 days till the solstice, which officially starts 24/7 summer, which I mean, I personally think I said a lot of things the last 2 months about Joey. I don't really agree with your 300,000 predicament. I mean, your prediction, I think that's too much. I think it's going to melt in clips. But I mean, it could be possible because there were some 180K melts last year, which is basically 200. I mean, it's not that much more than reality. So I definitely changed my position on that.
Yeah, no, and that's cool, man. That's totally cool. I totally respect you calling me out, and I need to back that up. And when I say that, and you know what, I didn't even really realize. I don't even remember the 180K days. I just
2020.
remember.
Well, we can.
Yeah.
I don't.
I was thinking of
pandemic.
Just like basically
Pandemic
like
was our lives last year. You know, like
yeah,
it was so bad last year, but we were so worried about reality, and it's like, who can blame us? Like,
yeah.
I had to move out of an apartment. I had to left a job for another job that I didn't like, and then had to leave that job. Like. Last year. Okay, so
and just knowing how thin the ice is, that's why I think we will see 300,000 K drops. And I hope I'm wrong. I totally hope I'm wrong.
Okay, so right here, 7.3 to 0.12. That's 180,000. July 14th last year. You remember what you were doing in July last year? Probably worrying about fucking not being. Well, you had a lot of toilet paper. I'm not gonna say you weren't worried about that.
Yeah, I could shit.
Worried about stocking up and all that shit. Like you weren't worried about. I wasn't either. I was working at a grocery store.
That's right. Yeah.
Supply chain issues in July.
Yeah.
I wasn't worried about. You know what I mean? Like. So what I was, and I might make a post. NBL about this, because if you look at so just pay attention to these two lines. That's this year, which looked pretty awful with all these little jagged marks. This is
it's so good that you can do this. You because I'm not savvy to like be able to do that kind of shit.
I don't know why there's a pin thing now. I don't know what I did. Remove pin. Sorry. I'm not savvy either. I'm like learning this as I go. All right.
You are though. You are savvy. You can work all the your data, and you know how to find it. You know how to that's really important. I don't think you realize your value, Justin. You know your shit, and
appreciate that.
I fucking highlight. Well, not only do you know your shit, you document your shit. You've got it all. Your notebook that you showed me.
Shout out to my boy for
I have fucking full respect for and that's why, like, if I say something dumb, dude, call me out. If we're not going to see 300 too, that's a good thing. I look at this like I want to be wrong. It's good to be wrong about stuff. Yeah, it's not looking good. I totally forgot about the 180,000. I was thinking more along the 100. knowing how thin all that because like right, all the old ice is melted, so everything is new, so it's fresher, so it's not really packed. Old ice is like packed in by millions
Right.
of
I can
years. So it's just packed. It's hard.
pull that up too.
That's another thing that I don't think people or science acknowledges is hard, old, thick ice is super. It's not permeable. Ice that we have now is all new. It's soft. It's broken. It's permeable. It's just. That's why I think we're going to see massive.
So right now
massive
we're looking at the year age of ice. And this is a video I've shared to a couple of people. So if anybody hasn't watched this, this is one of my main arguments for the Blue Ocean event, because this is from the 80s to 2019. So you can see through the natural rotation, natural gyres of the ocean, adding, human induced warming to the mix, you can watch the older ice filter out. And like I wasn't even born for the first 9 years of this. So it's like I was born into this mess. So like,
shit.
We're all in this shit together, whether we're old or not. So,
yeah.
I want to hear about how young and naive I am.
I know. And that pisses me off.
I know that I'm young and naive. Like I just learned about this shit getting out of college. Like it was just as much of a blow, a blindside knockout punch to the temple to me to wake up and be like, oh my God.
Oh yeah.
This is the end of everything. Like
Justin, at your age, you are smarter and more informed and more intelligent than anyone else. And I mean, with what I've done, and it's shit, but I've met and known a lot of people, and people who I thought were smart and intelligent. Turned out they really weren't. They just knew how to make money, or they were successful or athletic or whatever. But dude, there's a very few people who I have utmost respect for, their knowledge and their age. And I'm actually, it makes me jealous, because why the fuck wasn't I that smart when I was 28? I mean, I was, in my time, I was probably kind of on the path or whatever, but you fascinate me. You truly fascinate me with your knowledge.
You fascinate me too with your fanaticism, your rhetoric.
It's heartbreaking, because when I was younger and I saw everything come in, and I thought people would kind of get on board and even if it was obviously, even if it's not fixable, they would still be on board with reality and go, this is totally fucked, but no, it's just gotten fucking worse. It's just worse. So you being as smart as you are at your age, there's not even old people like me, myself not included, but other people like me and my age we're just gonna treat you like shit, because you're just a fucking dumb kid. And that pisses me the fuck off, because you're not just a fucking dumb kid, dude. You're one of the smartest and fucking most aware people that I've ever met, known.
Yes.
And and I get, I get it. Obviously, Guy, Mike Rupert, Kevin, Hester, everybody that's even more on, on whether it's a spectrum or just a knowledge of reality, of truth. But at the same time, for people that really get it, and can educate others, tell other people and educate others. That's, I think, the most beautiful thing that I've always sought for in my life. And all I see from that is you're stupid, you're wrong, just
that's the other thing about
pisses me off.
I get shit about, you talk about this stuff to boost, for your like self-interest, to boost this or that. It's like, Well, actually, I've sacrificed a lot of exposure, not being like a general person that puts their head down and doesn't question anything. As a musician, I could have been in some, you know, cotton candy pop, you know, bubblegum pop punk band or some shit, making a lot of money. But instead, I decided to take a different route, and it's just like,
Yeah.
somebody that I like sharing a lot of the stuff I learned and found out, especially about science and the environment. And I don't really hold it against people if they decide to not listen or to take some of the information and not do anything with it. But it's just like, I do get more, I guess, upset and annoyed than I should be about getting kind of criticized about
Yeah.
stuff like this
you
for my
should.
own self-interest. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I
What
don't see the you know, it's like Guy said, there's no money in extinction. Like, it's profitable to be talking about this stuff and criticize,
Yeah.
telling people about what, you know, what the government or who else has done wrong. Like, that doesn't really benefit you in any way in the long run. It's just the reality. Point blank.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, I'm as guilty as anybody else of being a person that's like, oh, why can't we get along? We're all going to be dead soon. And also being like, well, hey, fuck you. We're going to be dead soon. So that's what you get to people. Like, I'm just as guilty as the next person of finding that dual line between not being a hypocrite and being a decent person about the extinction. But it's kind of hard when everybody kind of,
When everybody attacks the messenger, you know, yeah. Yep.
exactly.
That was fucking beautiful what you just said, man. That was fucking hit the nail on the head again, dude. So yeah, absolutely, man. And it's hard. Like, that's what makes it hard getting through my day, because I just feel like I'm just repeating, you know, I'm working so hard at my factory. I'm a good worker, so hard, low pay. Come and do me again. You know, there's a Dead Kennedy song that I just ruined because that's not the lyrics, but I'm working at my job. I'm so happy. 4 in the morning till 9 a.m. or 10 p.m. You know, I'm so happy. It's all a lie. And when you call it out, people don't like that. They don't like being told the truth. They want their Fox News. They want their Rush Limbaugh. They want their Bill O'Reilly. They want their Tucker Carlson. You know, we did right. We made right by giving Martin Luther King a national holiday, right? So we made right by that. We did Earth Day. We made Earth its own day. You know, we did right by that. We love the Earth.
That was another joke. I know a couple. So I saw somebody made a reference to it in the status. Like, I'm not like a Bo Burnham fan or anything. I just watched this documentary because my friend was like, yo, I know you're into Doomer shit. And like, there's some Doomer shit in this comedy special. And I was like, all right, I'm going to check it out. But he made some joke in the beginning. Like, he had a sock puppet on and he was like, when will you rich white people ever fucking get it? That it's not about you. Like, and it's like he had a funny song and then he stopped a bit and like just broke fourth wall and did that. And I was just like, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, why is everybody not doing that? Like, we're playing with the boomers that don't get it and then stopping and being like, you don't understand that everyone's going to be dead in 24 to 36 months if the fucking blue ocean event happens. I'm going to be dead. Everybody's children, everybody's grandchildren, all the crops are going to fail. No trucks, cars, buses, boats, planes, all that shit's going to be fucked. And that's what we're talking about here, family. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on now, everyone. Like, that's the program we're running with right now. And that's not like a script. It's not like a InfoWars like made up thing that we're doing to get viewers. That's reality.
Yeah, it's very simple science. It's so
look outside.
Science.
You're gonna look outside one day and the sky's gonna be red because it's sulfates that they're spraying in the air to try to stop it from getting hot because too many people are dead. And then when you look up and the sky never goes back to the color that it used to be, maybe you'll think and figure out that things are fucked and they're not going back to the way they were.
My is melting in my drink. My drink is now warm. Just in this little bit of like fucking 10 minutes in, this went from still chilled, you know, a little ice cap on the top, fucking room temperature. That's our fucking planet when the ice melts. That is the fucking planet. And we're right there. And if we're wrong, it's gonna happen next year. I don't think it's gonna happen next year. I think
I mean, I'd like
we're
it.
on pace.
I would love to turn 30. I would love for either one of my shitty bands to get more than 1,000 Facebook likes, which it literally doesn't mean anything to anybody, but that's like a stupid goal I have. And play some more concerts and, you know, watch basketball. I don't know, watch cartoons, smoke more pot with my small group of friends that actually understand what we're talking about right now. And I really appreciate them for hanging around. Like, that's all I'm really doing because, you know, so when I was in an argument earlier, some lady told me that if I was your age, if I was 28, I would be going out there attacking CEOs. Like, do you not get what the aerosol mask
I
is?
saw she said that
If
should
you
shoot a fucking CEO of Shell Oil or somebody.
If you
How the
fired
fuck do you post that on Facebook? How the fuck do you say you should shoot a fucking
you shouldn't.
a CEO executive or
Shouldn't. Disclaimer.
fossil fuel executive?
Disclaimer, you shouldn't do that. No.
Right. Yeah, that was.
And
I was like,
even if that wasn't the case, what would it do if you fired all the
right.
CEOs?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
the companies shut down tomorrow. The sulfates fall out of the atmosphere and the planet still gets hotter. So it's like,
It's almost at
I
this
don't know why
point.
that individual who I'm not naming people, I'm not giving them agency and look up who that is. No, you don't need to know who this person is because they're insignificant. If you're going to claim to know Guy McPherson's work and then say that you should be attacking CEOs like the aerosol masking effect and global dimming don't exist, I see a contradiction between those two things. And I'm just a bachelor's student, you know. I'm just a millennial, so my essence, my human spirit, and my being don't matter because I'm a millennial. So don't really take that much of what I say into consideration. But
Yeah, that was insane, man.
I'm projecting.
I couldn't even. I saw that. I saw that, and I couldn't even comment because I was just like, "This is so fucked up." That you know, like you said, it does nothing. It does nothing. We will do better by waiting it out and watching those kind of people jump from their Wall Street buildings, you know. And that's, you know, that's, I want to see that because it's not you and I going in there, you know, with the AR-15 and go, "We're America," you know. No, we can peacefully watch these fucking, you know, these capitalistic assholes jump to their own death. We don't have to kill them. And we're not going to. That's not, you know, we're the ones that are nonviolent here. That's not our, you know, that's why we are who we are and why we've become the people that we become. And it's crazy that to see somebody like that just attack you. You know, yeah, you should go and, you know, assassinate, you know, like, no, you shouldn't go assassinate any fucking body. You know, you know, in joking, there's possibility that there could be a joke written there, but not in this case. But yeah, that was completely retarded.
Yeah, dude, it's like,
it's like you said, it's not gonna buy us more time. It's not gonna save us.
You see so many people like,
you don't want to you don't want to spend the last days in fucking prison, right?
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. You see all these people committing hate crimes, shooting people for their color of their skin, their religion, their sexual preference. Like literally that gives people an excuse to kill somebody else. That's crazy to me. But
No, yeah, that's so
poor people are taking out their frustrations on the wrong people. But even then, taking out your frustration on the upper whatever isn't going to do shit. Like
you don't fix anything.
it's like
You probably like if I was to go if I was to go shoot up the mall, I would not gain anything. I might even shoot somebody that was cool.
Right.
And that's part of the reason why
right.
I could never condone. You know what? Maybe you killed somebody that was anti-war. Maybe you killed somebody and shot somebody that was kind of cool. You know, I agree. Most people are shit, but if you just and like you know, just if you're gonna take yourself out and you just want to veer into traffic and you hit someone head on, what if those people are cool, man? What if those people are fucking cool? And you just
come off bridges and
ruin
then
their, you know, yeah, you got it
in a
easy
car.
out. You were no pain, no shame, but there is shame if you take out a innocent person, and that's no different than being pro-war. That's just fucked, right? That's just shit.
Yeah.
I don't want to see anybody get mad and go out like that, because that's not cool. You don't fuck with other people, especially strangers, and go like oh God, what's his name? There's a comic that talks about like Bill Burr. He's like, yeah, I'm normal. I'm driving a straight line. I might want to kill somebody. Just 3 inches to the left. Just 3 inches to the left. I'm okay. Everything's normal. 3 inches to the left, and I'm fucking killing people. He's like, what do you? What, you know? I mean, it's funny in you know, in a bit, and you know, in comedy, you get it. But obviously, he's not going to do that.
Yeah.
And then you have Doug Stanhope on the other hand. He's like, they fucking want to search your bags. I stuff my shit with chocolate, you know, Hershey's chocolate stained dildos. You know, open up my bags, show that in front of grandma and grandpa. Yeah, because nobody dies. It's actually funny if you do that, and he does. I know he does, because he talks about it. He's like, it's not funny unless you do it, and he does, and that's when it's funny. So I totally get that, because yeah, nobody dies. Everybody's like horrified. Like, oh my god, that's a big. Oh, it's got poop on it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's like, well, the other thing I forgot to mention was like talking about like, you know, misplaced anger. And I mean, who wouldn't be frustrated at any age about the predicament? Like when you're groomed and trained by society to think and do things a certain way, and these assumptions are kind of ingrained in us that we're going to be here for a certain time and whatever, and then that's just like a jarring change. Like even quote unquote normal people like that do crazy things and like out. Like my point with that is, individually, everyone would do a lot better to just be able to be in better control of like impulses and stuff like that in their head. Like it's obviously not possible for everybody, but like, yeah, I recommend smoking weed where it's legal to people. I mean, don't get yourself carried away drinking, because that can be crazy, but have a drink if you don't do that too much. Like people need to loosen up and stop worrying about speeding to the next destination and getting everything done to go to the next thing and consume and spend more and just do more. You know, like I've grown up on the East Coast entirely, and my pace and way of living and acting is so frenetic, and everything has to be done, and so many things have to be done in a day, and that's just the culture from not only me but like every family of all my relatives and anyone I've ever dated. Like it's all, you know, New Jersey, Philly culture. It's just going fast, and it's like I have to do a lot to kind of step back. And like I said, I use weed to do that. I get stoned and I kind of get step back and try to sink into nature more. And
well, I think it's a natural element. It's a natural ingredient.
But like take yourself out of the concrete world and the digital world.
Oh yeah.
back into the world of soil and trees. And it's like, it's hard for me to do that. Like we're on computers right now. I'm going to be on my phone more all night like I was before this conversation. It's not something that's escapable, but being able to be one of these individuals that implants in one's mind that you recognize the disease of all of this, you recognize the negativity and the toxicity. And even though you plant a seed that might get washed out every night, every morning you wake up and still plant that seed that you're going to do a little bit to kind of readjust yourself with the natural state of being, readjust and kind of connect with the very few animals that we have left in this world to even connect with, and the plant life and all of that stuff. Like just being able to be like, spend 5 minutes and be like, all right, I'm thinking about this tree and doing this with that instead of minding our business with the economy or how much money we make or our car, or, and I say all of these things kind of in like a self-actualization state. Like I'm always kind of reflecting on what I can do differently or improve on. I don't want to be pointing fingers at nobody here, like saying you should do this better. No, I'm saying this is what I'm trying to experience and change. And if you want to take that as something you want to do too, great. If you've already done that and you're older than me, then maybe I'm on the right track, and it'd be great to know that. So, but I don't know. I'd love to be able to disagree with people and be friends with them, and that can only happen if it's not about, don't be racist or be hating people from other countries. We obviously can't be friends if it's about that stuff. But if we're disagreeing on how fucked the world is, I think that's something I can convince you of at some point in the future because of reality.
Right.
A lot of these people on Arctic News, dogging you or me or whoever else. Kevin Hester posts there a lot and gets a lot of criticism. And I commend his efforts for constantly being an internet presence that kind of spreads information. I mean, I've seen, he's posted a link or two that I may have seen 12 times, and I'm not going to click on it every time because I already read his whole blog, and I've read a couple of his articles multiple times. But it still makes me smile to see, maybe some people that are 30 or 18 or 59, anybody, any age, is reading that material and figuring this out for the first time. I don't want to be pushing people away that are actually going to poke their head into this space and be like, what's this about? But at the same time, don't be attacking me for bullshit, because I will come right back at you with somebody that's grown up, the force of somebody that spent their whole life in a city. You don't want that.
Yeah. My biggest fear, I think, at this point is because I want your input on this too, Justin. I feel like we could literally collapse every day. We are printing money only to not collapse, and we printed an exorbitant amount of money in the last year, 2020, more so than and a large percentage wise, so than ever. And I figured all the numbers, but we are so close to total collapse.
Mhm.
And then, of course, as we know, because you and I think most, if not all of our listeners, understand global dimming. And if they don't, we can, we're glad to explain and talk about that, because that's a big factor. Once and that's why they're printing the money. They want to keep the show on the road as long as they can, because they don't want to go to their bunkers yet. Because when they go to their bunkers, it's over. Because just a few days or weeks,
I don't want to jump in. I don't want to jump in and cut you off, but
no.
They did go to their bunkers in March. There were literal articles about the wealthy.
That's right.
When COVID started, that was, okay, that's it. That's it.
So that was 2019 then?
No, that was 20. Right? That was last year. That was
13
months ago, 15 months ago. I'm sorry. About 16 months ago.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I can't do math.
Me too. Yeah, you're right. 2020 it was. I was wrong.
But that's the thing. I agree that it could be any day, but the thing is, there's indicators. It's the same thing as when it's been really hot for 3 or 4 days a week, and you wake up and it's a little bit colder, even though it's humid. Oh, it's probably gonna be a thunderstorm. Like there's certain call signs that you know over time for interpreting things that happen that are gonna happen. I think like we're gonna see some sort of credit financial issue, and that might be before or after, BOE. That might be before or after we get 3 hurricanes that hit the same major city. Like we kind of, I don't want to say we lucked out because we didn't, but Hurricane Katrina could have been way worse because it wasn't a Category 5 storm when it made landfall.
Oh, right.
3. So like as disastrous as it was for that city who is still recovering almost 2 decades later, it could have been worse. Hurricane Sandy could have been way worse for the metropolitan New York City area, even though it was devastating for a lot of communities along the Jersey Shore. And I know that because I live in New Jersey, and I was here for a tropical storm that when I was in middle school or high school, yeah, either high school or like in college, there was a really bad tropical storm that washed a bunch of roads out that like to start rebuilding infrastructure more strong to handle rivers because the storms were getting worse. Like little stuff like that was happening. Well, I think we're going to get to a point where, and like you said, I don't know how it's not happened already. It's kind of like this, it's like this ever expanding, like the universe is allegedly expanding forever, infinitely. So if you can imagine a similar expansion, an infinite outward expansion, that's our ability to interpret data and handle disaster and calamity and all of the things that are bad about climate change, like wildfires, hurricanes. Well, with technology and everything increasing, we have this like hypothetical expansive area where we can do something about it as a human species. But the same kind of expansion you can look at with climate change, and that expansion is catching up to the outside one. So originally, like 100 years ago, we had way more ability to do things about, storms because, that actually couldn't be true. It's hard to even create a legitimate metaphor because that one really falls short. But we're moving at this pace, I guess. I don't want to look at it as this 2D line. Like I would use a train analogy, like we're on this train and the climate train is just faster. It just hasn't caught up to us yet. Like we're watching it get closer and closer. But it's such a complicated issue. I don't want to use something that's so 2D in nature. But that's the best thing I can think of, stoned off the top of my head right now. But
yeah. Well, I like, Kevin talks about how we're over the cliff. And I think what you're trying to say is that, we're over the cliff and now we're seeing the bottom. Like we haven't impacted yet, like Kevin says, brace for impact. We haven't hit the bottom yet. But we can see the bottom. It's right there. And we're having to deal with like, okay, gravity, nature is going to take its course and we're almost to impact. And we have a brace for that. And that's pretty much where we're at, whether it's a week, a month, a year, 2 years. I think, if we can avoid a BOE, then maybe we could have not we, but a few upper ground dwellers maybe could have a little bit of time. But I don't see that. I don't see
I don't deny the possibility either. It could be possible we don't have a BOE this year. It could be possible that we have one and that it's so late in the year that we get a refreeze. It's just like you said, with all the factors we just elaborated on, with the young age of the ice, the lack of thickness, the amount that's melted pre-summer. Like there's so many factors that.
Sure. Yeah.
Looking at this information from 2016 to now, every year more intensively as the years go on. Just from my experience, like I've never seen things look. I've never seen this little amount of thick ice. I've never seen it melt. Like last year, it melted a lot in similar area, but you know, and like we'll know in the next month or two. That was one of the things I mentioned with the 2020 graph was 2012 was the record low, right? But before the season ended, 2020 had like the end of June through August was the low, and then it kind of plateaued out, and then 2012 kept going. So if 2020 had went along the same path, it would have been the record low, but it kind of stopped. So there's something, you know, weather-wise, but I don't know if we'll get that lucky this. Excuse me, I don't know if we'll get that lucky this year where we have that tapering off, because if we start seeing levels in the next 3 weeks to 6 weeks under 2020's extent, I think that's pretty indicative of the BOE. So I don't know if you wanted to talk about anything in the next 10 minutes and wrap up.
Yeah. No, I think that
and smoke with some friends, try to enjoy.
Yeah.
It's the weekend because, you know.
Yeah, have a good weekend, everybody. And you know, hopefully some people have you know, a weekend, you know, a lot of people. And Justin, you know, as poor as you are, you don't have weekends. You have to think about money all the time, right?
Yeah.
You know, and
I also live very, very frugally too. So I'm getting really good at, you know, spending money and not, you know, spending a ton of money when I get food or, you know, cooking a lot of meals, stuff like that. So most of the clothes I have, I get, you know, for Christmas, like 1 or 2 family members will get me a jacket. But like, you know, my girlfriend got me the clothes I'm wearing now for Christmas or her birthday at one point. So like, you know, I don't really buy new clothes anymore. I'll support a band, like I'll buy band merch, but like I don't buy new clothes. I would like to get a couple more tattoos before I die, but I don't know how likely that's going to be. Maybe put a couple $100 aside. But like, you know, I think
about Nature Bats Last. Like I want to buy Nature Bats Last shirts and stickers.
One
and
like right here, Nature Bats, like an hourglass. I was thinking about that.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I also even thought about, like, you know, my own collapsing with Casey t-shirts and stickers, and I'm like, well, how the fuck am I gonna get them out? But you know, you place an order with
what
me,
time
like
is there?
5 people, and I'm gonna like,
Hey,
you know,
okay. I don't even have a car, but I would fucking I have a television that I play old video games on that is stickered up. I will show the internet right now. Oh, this shit. It is. You see
dude, this is funny. So
a voting sticker on it because that was from like 5 years ago. So don't act like, oh, you got a voting sticker like that. I don't vote anymore.
I did she backed into the corner, but I did I had Randy Tebow on the other night, and I didn't even realize it, but I had her door open, and she came out and went behind, like she was right behind my shoulder. I didn't even realize she was getting out, and I shut down the interview, shut everything down, going to bed because I had to work the next day. And Tammy's like, Copper's not in her cage.
No.
Like, yeah, she was right there. And no, sure enough, she'd gotten out while we were, and Tammy wasn't watching either. So Copper, this, you know, and she's cool. She won't.
Your snake.
Yeah, she's totally comfortable with people and not, you know, not aggressive or anything. But yeah, I wouldn't want her out because we also have a iguana out. And that iguana would just take chunks out. You know, if they got out together, if they got out together. And the iguana is a vegetarian, but you know, when there's a meat source, you know what? But if you want a snack, you know, have a bite. And what people don't understand about snakes is they're not because they're not murderers. They only want it only want to eat when they're hungry, and she, she's well fed, so the lizard, or like even just say we put a live animal in the cage and she wasn't hungry, live animal like a rat would get bored and eat, and the snake wouldn't attack the animal if they're not hungry or whatever. They don't really, they're pretty, they might twitch here and there a little bit, like take a chunk out of an arm, like out of my arm, like something like that, take a chunk out of her, she'd probably flinch or something like that, but she wouldn't kill the animal that was eating her. And people make that mistake. It's really goofy with reptile keeping, snake keeping. People that will feed a live animal to their snake, if their snake doesn't eat it right away, then that animal will get bored and start chewing and chomping on the snake, and it'll kill. That's it. You got infection, and they just, and all these wounds up and down, head to tail, and that happens overnight. And then people wake up the next morning and go, "Oh my God, my snake didn't eat the live food, and the live food ate my snake." And the snake's still alive, but it's not doing well. And it's like, yeah, you don't. You really have to know animals and how they work, and that's why I say snakes are the most wrongfully misunderstood animals, because people think snakes want to kill everything. Their goal is to go chase you, hunt you down, and kill you. And that's not at all the case. They are food driven. And even when they're not food driven, their food can kill them. Because if you put the food in with the animal and they're not hungry, the food will kill the animal. That would never happen in nature, because there would never be a rat or a bunny or whatever encompassed with a boa constrictor, python, or whatever kind of snake, that they had to live in confined close quarters like that. So it's amazing to see how ignorant people are about the animals they keep and the mistakes they make. And don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes.
Yeah, I think
I
everyone
haven't made
has.
that mistake, but I've
Like we said, Joey, there's a big difference between acknowledging that we've erred to some extent, whether it's continuously or in the past, and then just keep doing it and not saying anything.
yeah.
Also, I rolled this blunt really fast on live stream, so that's cool.
Smoke him if you got him, right? Which guys, it's funny, guys, bit with Bill Nye on Global Meltdown on National Geographic channel. It'll come and go. And the last I checked the other day, it was back up on Vimeo. It may not still be there on Vimeo, but that's always fun, because that's how you found Guy too, right?
That's the piece of media that introduced me to Guy. It's a little premium at the end for my current tastes, but it's a good nostalgia boost to watch that again.
Anytime you have such truth on national television, and this is national television, even if it's cable, whatever, but human extinction 2030, and obviously that's old and things have changed. It's but that episode could not air on national television, even with the 2030 timeline. Even with the 2030 timeline, that clip, that show could not fucking air, because it would freak people. It would just be too much information for people. They deserve, people deserve the truth, but I'm under the acceptance that people choose not to know the truth because it's too scary.
Choose to be informed.
They choose to be misinformed. That's why they trust Fox News. Oh,
No, that's what I'm saying.
Some more. Let me some more.
People that know this, people that know guys' work, Kevin's work, William's work, choose to be informed. And that's what we're doing here. Is we're making a choice, a conscious choice to, want to know about what's going on.
Yeah. That didn't negate the bullshit.
I commend everybody for that, not just you. Everybody checking this, making comments, asking questions. I just got a stream tomorrow that I'm going to check out, and I think everyone else should. We should keep building the sense of community and understanding, and also get on the same level about how fucked we are. And we got to be the kind of the veterans to teach the rookies about situation. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say I'm a veteran because I've dealt with a lot of shit in the last 5 years and talking about this stuff. And I definitely would school the kid that I was back in college trying to talk about climate change now. I was faced with my former self. I would definitely really school them on the knowledge. So I feel like I could teach a lot of people about this if they were willing to listen. And I wish I could get more of my personal contacts to, take a look at the YouTube and the channel and, guys working the stuff we talked about. But it's a lot for some people. It's really overwhelming, especially when you build this whole idea that you're going to be this certain career worker. You're going to be this, I don't know, whatever, carpenter, welder, what have you. You spend your whole life orchestrating it around that. And then the science tells you that it's not going to be that way. That can be devastating. It was kind of like a handicap for me in a way, not knowing what I wanted to be and not having a career path growing up, because now I don't really need to have one. Like, it's a little weight off my shoulders, a little silver lining there.
Yeah, dude, it is, right? Because I'm so much older than you, but I also, what you just said, I feel too, because I'm fucking tired of getting up every morning on Monday morning and stress puking to go to work and do it 5 more times, and then maybe get a couple of days off. And I'm privileged as a motherfucker that I get 2 days off a week if I choose to. But I'm also, work other jobs, work side jobs. So tomorrow is my first. I'm sleeping in tomorrow. Tomorrow is my first day off in almost 2 weeks, because my last day off was Monday, the holiday, 12 days ago. So fucking glad to have this weekend off, and then the next 2 weekends, if I still choose to announce races, I've got a race a day, so I've only got 1 day off per weekend the next 2 weeks. And honestly, part of the reason I still announce races is because I want to, I love doing this, and I want to help you out. So I also, I need to go do that work so that I can keep you, kind of help keep you on these live streams and interviews. And so before we sign off, too, I think we've got Kevin Hester next week. That's fucking cool, right?
It'll be a good time. Everyone,
Kevin Hester, we've had Kevin on the Earth Day show, but we've never had, and me personally, I've never had Kevin on one-on-one with Collapsing with Casey, and I would want nothing more, nothing better than to having you and I, because you help me out so much with that conversation and what you will bring to that. We're looks like we've got Kevin lined up for next Friday for the live stream.
I think I have a couple friends that are not too camera shy, that are getting along the lines of where we're at. One of them is my age and like a month older, that may or may not be able to do a channel interview, but I remember he expressed interest in doing the other Zoom that we do. And I have another friend who I believe is like 31, 32, that also probably would be interested in going over some of this stuff with us. And I don't know if they're completely on same page about timeline of extinction, but it is interesting for me to hear, people's opinions about what they think without having all the facts, just their basis of understanding about the science. Before we go into, some of the things that might change that opinion and affect it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be it's gonna be a fun hour. I can't wait to hear what we talk about. Kevin always brings, dude, he's so I love his passion and his knowledge and his experience and his history. And he doesn't pull any punches, man. He's fucking real as it gets. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. There's nothing more beautiful than being that real, right?
Right. Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to wrap with? I'm gonna go pretend like all this stuff isn't happening for a couple hours.
I know. Think about that too. I think about just dumb jokes about how we can be like, oh man, me and Justin, man, we were talking earlier today, and we just, you know what? All we gotta do is just stop burning fossil fuels. You know what? I'm gonna ride my bicycle. I work 15 miles away. I can ride my bicycle. You know what? I'm gonna just ride my bicycle. I'm gonna solve climate change and ride my bike. I'm gonna plant a tree along the way. You know what? If I'm there early, I'll plant a tree. If I
If
get
everybody
off work
planted
early,
it,
I'll plant a tree.
everybody just started planting trees right now, we'll be fine.
I know. And people fucking believe that shit. They really think that we can just, oh, well, we're not
That's
so
what Attenborough
special.
said.
We just
Plant
completely
a tree.
altered.
Plant the tree and you'll save the earth.
We completely altered the entire biosphere and every sphere. But you know what? Yeah, if we just plant some trees, man, like everybody plants a million trees, it doesn't fix the water table. It doesn't fix fucking greenhouse gases. It doesn't bring back the 200 species we've driven to extinction every day. It really doesn't do shit. It probably only fucks up more shit because now that fucker needs water, and we're running out of water on top of that, right? So you planted a bunch of trees that need water to live, and we're already losing water at this point, right? Is it?
Yeah.
It's in the idiocracy, the hopium. Oh God, yeah.
It's gonna be an interesting month. It's gonna be interesting. Well, man, it's been a pleasure doing this last couple hours, talking with you, talking with everybody, interacting.
Yeah, sorry we went long. We did go a little long.
No worries.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude, I'm really looking forward to doing next week with Kevin. And I hope everybody brings a couple topics and ideas because it's going to be real hype. You want to do the thing?
On that note, I'm going to release some methane out of my own body, and we'll slowly, heater, hotter, and slowly go dark.